Next on our agenda here, we've got is the Fantasy Live and Dice. So we call it FA&D for short. And basically what it ends up being is it's a tabletop version of the Fantasy Live rules. So we actually, to make all this work out, we took the rule book that we had and we transferred it and edited some things and sort of clarified some stuff to make it work in a tabletop-like setting where you actually have like dice that you roll rather than in the LARP where you just do the action and it goes. So there was a bit of taking the rules and tweaking some things here and there, and then also adding in the idea of the randomness for like, you know, if you want to try and hit somebody with a sword, you have to see if that hits or not. If you want to cast a spell at somebody, you have to see how that works. And we've also incorporated a couple other things into it that we don't really use in the live game of like knowledge kind of skills, so that we can give hints to people here and there based on how they roll or what they do. Because there's a lot of things that happen in the tabletop game that we might be able to say, okay, try it. You know, if somebody's like, I want to sneak around this part over here, you can just be like, well, go do it, right? But in the tabletop system, you have to be like, well, what happens? How do we to regulate that? And that's where the dice come into the whole FA and dice thing. So yeah, that's it. And then in the basics, that's basically what it is. And we've been using the online system of Roll20 to run through it there. There are some other ones that are out there, but that's the one that we were familiar with, and that's the one we decided to try out. So
nice.
Yeah.
So is it an ongoing like plot line, or is it like the little adventures? How does all this work?
Yeah, so the plot of this whole thing is kind of that, like, overall, we've already talked about the events there. We've kind of put a couple of things on pause, and we're doing a little bit here and there. And for FA&D, we've made it a fair amount more lighthearted and a fair amount more almost episodic, if you will. The adventures are generally one shot. What we usually call, and at the LARP game, we call them mods. And we just call them adventures here just to kind of differentiate between the ideas. So the adventures end up being sort of like a single mod that you could do if you were at the LARP. And it ends up being sort of like a 3 to 5 hour approximate time frame of just like a tabletop game there. We have done a couple where there have been continuing storylines, and they've been like 2-3 sessions long. And we run those when we can. But there's a lot of things that, because we're also dealing with a wide variety of people and people's availability, that's a big one, is trying to get the right group together. So if you have and we can't run it obviously for the 100 people that would normally show up for the LARP. We can only run it for, we found out a maximum of about 6 people is kind of the ideal number. So what we've decided to try and do is run these mods as here is a contained mod. Different 6 people can come and play this and have a good time, and then we can keep it on the shelf, and then the next 6 people that are like, hey, that sounds interesting, can also come and play it and also get the same experience and enjoyment out of it. So it's the main idea we've tried to do here.
So I got a question for you. How does somebody sign up for one of these mods? Because I heard a story that the booking system hasn't been doing very well. Is it okay to run now, or are you getting that worked out?
Oh yeah, so that's probably been our biggest challenge in amongst all of this, is like writing the rule book was a concentrated effort to figure out, and it's not done by any stretch. That's something that we're planning on adding some more information to and tweaking some skills and things like that, and hopefully do some update on that. We have a big plan for that come the new year. But the scheduling, if any of you have ever done tabletop LARP, especially online nowadays, trying to organize people's schedules is the hardest part of any aspect of it. You can write amazing plot, you can do all these things, but if nobody can show up, you can't really do it. So our biggest challenge for this one has been trying to figure out how to get everyone to book these sessions and organize it between everyone. And when we first put it out, we just did like personal, like, you messaged us and said, I want something here, and we said sure, and that worked out okay. But as it kind of picked up, and we're happy about that we've got more and more people playing and more people enjoying it, and more sessions out there for people to get there. But we've gotten to a point where we're like, well, how do we organize all of this? So we've gone through, I think, 3 different possible programs through our
Yeah,
website, at
I would
least.
say three at
Yeah,
least.
at least I think. Don't quote me on the number, and we're probably going to try out a few more as we go along. But we've fallen back to the one that has worked the best so far. It's not ideal, but it's remarkably hard to get something that fits exactly what we're looking for. So thanks for kicking around through all of this and through all the problems we've had with it. And it's for the most part it's worked well enough, especially when I don't do the main work. We have a social media person on this, and she is fantastic. That's Angie. And when she does the work, it works really well. If I go into it, it doesn't. So yeah, this is how great all these things are here. So
Maybe on a different episode we can talk about how you crashed the website, but that'll be another time. Um,
you're all welcome.
but
We got a better one out of it in the end. But that's all I'm going to say on the matter right now. Yeah. Thanks for bringing it up, Doug.
you're welcome. But back to the FA&D. I've heard that we've done a couple special events. I know that I had this idea, like a breach event and all that, and we've done a couple more. What are those about? And also, are there going to be anything in the future?
Oh yeah. So the special events we've done so far have been the breach one you mentioned, and we've got one coming up in January that is called Frolic in the Snow. It's a fairly it's a bit of a crossover between lighthearted and a bit more serious things for those people who enjoy that. And it's all winter themed in all of the things that are going on. So we're hoping it'll be fun for everybody. But so we started out with our breach because for the LARP, breach is one of like the biggest events of the season. It's one of the ones everybody looks forward to. It's our like really scary, super intense kind of event that we run there. And everybody usually has such a great time with it that during this whole COVID thing, we got into September and looked towards breach and went, we should really try and do something for that. So I remember Doug and I talked at length about like, what do we do? Like what options do we have, right? We can't host events. That's just not safe. We can't even do like a day mod or anything like that. It just was not an option. And so came up with the idea of doing like on the breach weekend, we ran just like almost back-to-back FA&D sessions the whole time. And it was neat. It was a great idea. And it was something that went through and we got a lot of positive feedback. A lot of people really liked it. But we also found quite a lot of problems we had with it at the same time. So, and the biggest one of all of them was because it was such a tight back-to-back sessions over the course of like a Friday to a Sunday. There were a lot of like time constraints that we just couldn't handle. So we had ideas of like putting out role play for things as we went along, and we did, but then we ran out of time to offer those to people, and we had to close them and do other. Anyway, it was a whole thing. So it came out well enough that we're like, we should try this again, but maybe we can fix the mistakes along the way. And so this next one we're doing in January, we decided to stretch out to a week instead. So it kind of acts like a weekend event of a LARP is kind of the feel we're kind of go for it. But we're going to, because of the constraints of online communication, we thought stretching it out might work a little better. So we're doing like a Sunday to Saturday, something going on every single day that all kind of like fit the same theme and the same ideas so that we can go, all right, well, this is the event. And we'll have enough time, we hope. We'll see how it goes. I think the next one of these we do, we may have a conversation about the trials and tribulations of that attempt. So we'll see how that one goes. But the hope is that we'll have time to put in the RP and, and offer all of these other things going on and have no conflicts between different sessions going on at the same time and everything. So yeah, that should be interesting. Yeah, that'll be fun.
So also I see on the website about these things, personalized adventures. What can you tell me about that?
Yeah, sure. I could do that. So personalized adventures are things we've offered. We've done it twice now so far. The first one was for the Extra Life fundraiser we did. We offered out personalized mods as you could donate to Extra Life, and out of it we would give you an adventure. And we've done it again through the season of giving here in December, as I'm talking about this. It's still going on, but this will be out after that. So I hope you all enjoyed that. But the personalized adventures themselves are a sort of a cooperative effort between an FA&D plot member and the person who gets it. And they are for basically the plot. The plot and the person can talk about what they'd like to see on the adventure, what kind of things they'd like to do, and kind of spitball ideas back and forth a little bit to be like, all right, what would you like to see? And then once you get that idea, then the FA&D plot member then develops that single adventure for that person and that group that's going to play it. So it's kind of like a personal plot line that you get at the LARP itself, but in this case, it's just a single adventure. So we've done a few of these now from all of these ones, and they've gone over really well. Because I mean, who doesn't like plot tailored to your specific needs, right? That's a thing everybody loves.
Nice.
So, and then we've got currently ones set up for January through March. Some other ones that we just put out as the season of giving here. And the idea is that once we get into April, or close to April, we're hoping to put out some more. But there is sort of this idea that we're developing specific plots for different people, and there's communication, there's the development time, there's everything else. So we can't just go, everybody gets a personalized plot, because it gets a bit much. So we have to limit the number that we can do at a time, because we also still want to offer adventures to everybody else who isn't getting one of these. And the development time for some of these adventures can be varied depending on the one, but it's enough that we need to be able to put that time in and still have our regular lives, right? So, yeah.
I like that.
So, yeah, I think that's FA&D in a nutshell. If anybody has any questions or anything about that, feel free to let us know. And we're hoping to, I guess one thing that has come up about this is how long, is this a holdover between events and when we get back to them? Like, is this just a stopgap between the two, or is it something that we're going to be doing going into the future as well? And I think I see us hosting these FA&D sessions as a regular occurrence, hopefully even once we get back to real events too. They've been going really well. People have really liked them. And they're also an option for some mods you just can't do at the LARP, like physical limitations being what they are. There are some things where you just can't run specific things. So I know one of them is a stealth type mod. Where someone's trying to like infiltrate a house and steal some stuff or whatever the things you're trying to do there. Those kind of mods are really, really intensive at a LARP and really hard to run, but much easier to do in an FA&D setting in the tabletop there. So it's kind of I can see us using it as a tool in our toolbox going forward, and still offering just like fun adventures here and there along the way too. So I suspect we'll probably cut down on the number of sessions that we do, but who knows? Again, everything's kind of up in the air. So, and I think another one too is that we've kind of kept separate slightly, at least the FA&D plot team and the LARP plot team, and so it's entirely possible that the FA&D plot team will keep going on their sessions, and the other plot team will be running the LARP, and there'll be some communication through our plot manager, and we'll probably hopefully see some cool connections there and some fun things going on between those two. So yeah, again, we'll see how it goes. Huh?